is a new time period drama that is now streaming on Netflix. It is directed by the one and the only David Fincher, and it is based on a screenplay by David Fincher's late father, Jack Fincher. By the way, if you are wondering, yes, this filter is going to be up for the entire video. It's just going to be black and white. There's no real reason. There's no real point to it. It's not like it adds anything to the video. It's just, you know, me being pointless and stupid. And that's what you come to this channel for. So, you know, don't complain about it too hard. This film stars Gary Oldman, Amanda Seyfried, Charles Dance, that one guy that played Ward on Iron Fist for Marvel Netflix. The story takes place in the 1930s and the 1940s, and it follows Herman Mankiewicz, aka Mank, and his struggle with screenwriting credit with Orson Welles, who is directing Citizen Kane. The film takes you behind the scenes and kind of shows you what that process was. It shows you why they were butting heads over screenwriting credit. It also shows you a little bit about the state of Hollywood and the state of cinema in the 1930s and the 1940s, as seen through the scathing critique of Herman Mankiewicz. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a big David Fincher fan. I love this guy. This guy, he's batting 1,000 pretty much. I've loved nearly all of his films. If you guys remember, earlier this year I came out with a video talking about my most anticipated films of 2020. This movie was on my list. You actually get into what this movie is. It's kind of a commentary on the state of Hollywood in the 1930s that does have some parallels to the way that Hollywood is run today. There's also a lot of discussion in this film about some of the hidden internal and external politics behind movie studios and how some of that still is a thing today. So there's a lot of things that you could take from this movie, you could draw out and parallel, but you could also just focus on this movie on its own merits and the story that it's trying to tell in its own time. In terms of technical wizardry and mastery, David Fincher was in his absolute bag on this one. This is dominance. This is Goku. This is Super Saiyan 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is Ultra Instinct. This is Superman Prime or Thought Robot Superman. It's One Piece or One Hit Man or One Punch Man or whatever the fuck that anime is where the guy is able to knock people out with one hit. That is how powerful the filmmaking is on display in this movie. Like, I could basically take 10 minutes just by itself and talk about how well made this movie is. Easily and inarguably one of the best made films of 2020, and I'd probably say one of the best made films of the last 5 years or so. Like, that's how great it is in terms of the cinematography, the great use of shadow and lighting. Some of the grainy aspects that they use for the color grading is really key because it does immerse you in this 1930s and 1940s world. It really does a great job at bringing that environment to life and making you feel it. Costume design, the amazing set and production design. Also, take a look at how the movie sounds too. It's kind of a muffled aspect to the audio in this movie, almost like you're listening to it through old film. And speaking of old film, you got to look at the musical score for this movie too. It's at times bouncy and jazzy like you would expect music to be back in the day, but there's also an eerie and sometimes sinister quality to the musical score, almost like some of those old serials that people used to watch. The transitions between scenes, the fade to black, like everything in this movie is designed to be an ode or a love letter or a homage to the old school way that movies were made. The artistry alone when it comes to how this movie was made, everything that went into making it what it is, it's chef's kiss, it's eggs on a tit. Matter of fact, let's roll it. Eggs on a tit. Let's do that right now.
Yep.
In regards to the other aspects of the movie, the performances all around are incredibly strong, and all of them probably are going to be up in the Oscar debates next year. We all know Gary Oldman is a great actor. In this movie, David Fincher has brought him out to his very best. His Herman Mankiewicz is incredible. He's very watchable. The things that he says, the way that he talks to people, you're kind of hanging off of a lot of his words in every scene that he's in. Amanda Seyfried also has some of the best lines and best dialogue in this movie, and she gives one of the best performances too. Not in the movie as much as you would think she is, but when she's there, her presence is felt. Charles Dance is great. Like, pretty much all of the acting in here is A+ material. Like, it's the best that it absolutely could have been. If I were simply judging this movie off of how it was made and admiring and being in awe of the craftsmanship involved, this movie would hands down be my favorite movie of 2020. I feel like this movie is going to have its detractors, and it's gonna have its people that love this movie without question, and then there's gonna be other people that it kind of polarizes and leaves them feeling a little bit cold. Me, I'd probably say I'm a little bit in the middle. I do admire this movie for how it was made, and I love looking at the movie, but if I'm gonna be honest, I did not love this movie, and I did not love this movie because I feel like this movie failed to engage with me on a story level. From a story and character standpoint, I was left feeling very emotionally distant and cold from this movie. There just wasn't enough of a reason given throughout the runtime to really justify why this movie was made and why it was happening. All I can really say is that there's a lot of different flashbacks and a lot of different scenes throughout the film, and you jump back and forth between scenes where characters are just kind of talking about shit that you may or may not give an ounce of a shit about. That's frustrating because at times it makes this movie and its pace feel like it's meandering. It feels like you're just kind of going back and forth between different scenes and different subplots, and you're not given enough reason to care throughout all of it. While I admired this movie, I did not enjoy watching it. And while I appreciated the filmmaking, it's just not a movie that I could see myself revisiting. Because of that, this definitely did affect my final thoughts on the film, because when I sat back and looked at it, I was just like, man, I was just kind of exhausted to get to the end of it. I just didn't really see much of a point. I mean, I get what David Fincher's going for, but I didn't see a point as far as me watching the movie and really getting as much out of it as I think David Fincher wanted people to get out of it. That being said, Mank is one of the best made films of 2020. Not quite my cup of tea. I'm gonna leave this one in the Silver Age for Man of Steel. Give me your favorite David Fincher film of all time. Put that in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.